it's important to understand that when you invest in somebody that's done what it is you want to do, there's no speculation. They're not like, maybe you should do this or kind of you should do this. They've done what it is you want to do. So just take their advice as truth and know that there's no speculation. There's no incentive in a mentor speculating about something. They like, this is how I do it. You should do this. And there's always a monetary exchange for that. It's really important.
Welcome back to the Fast Foundations podcast. It's RT. I got Tiffany here and our new friend Joe for a mentor session. Today, we're talking about stress, sleep, maybe lack thereof. Joe, as someone who's tried lots of products that are similar to what you do, what separates you and your company from, in my opinion, just all the other, because there's so many companies that are in this space?
Yeah. And when you say space, you're speaking about CBD. And so, first to start, Cured is a functional cannabis supplement company. And what I mean by that is we use all parts of the cannabis plant and then some more. So, we actually formulate our products utilizing a clinical herbalist based in Boulder, Colorado. So, she works one on one with her patients to help them with whatever they're struggling with. And when we entered into this space, we knew that this space was going to get crowded very quickly, specifically CBD. And so we approached Callie, our clinical herbalist, and said, hey, we want to create supplements that utilize more than just CBD to create functions that are going to actually work and utilize her clinical experience helping patients one on one to scale at large scale. So what we actually do is we take combinations of functional mushrooms, adaptogens, and cannabinoids, and we go through an extensive R&D process. Almost every single one of our products has taken about a year to formulate, and it's been on the back of a clinical herbalist formulation. So I can guarantee you most companies don't do that, and that's the approach that we decided to take since day one. It did cut into our margins, of course, but we have seen that the efficacy and the customer retention has proven that they are the high quality that we wanted to create, and they are extremely efficacious. So that's the rundown.
Amazing. I love the commitment to producing a high quality product. And I think a lot of businesses like this start because you're looking for something that you couldn't find. So you created it for yourself. And Joe, I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about your journey. Like, where did it start? Where did this idea come from?
Yeah. So I mentioned to both of you before we started recording that Cured's 5.5 years old, but this whole journey has really been about an 11-year mission for myself. In 2012, I found myself on the edge of a bridge. I'd climbed over a guardrail and I almost committed suicide. I was coming out of a blackout, and at the time in my life, that's what was happening, was drugs, alcohol, and really trying to escape myself. Thankfully, I did not kill myself. Somebody actually was standing underneath the bridge. It was 2:30 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, and what that guy was doing there, um, I will only believe as an angel. And the fact that I had gotten into such a dark place was an eye-opening experience after that time. But I was instantly put on antidepressants, and I continued to make bad decisions after I was put on those antidepressants, continued to drink, and things just got worse. But the years after that, I really started committing to what does it actually mean to take my health into 100% my responsibility. And I struggled with anxiety for quite a time after that, as I was going through therapy and really starting to figure out like what was the depths of causing me to get to that dark of a place. And I, being in Colorado, had started to explore the cannabis space as it is legal here, and started to recognize that now there's other ways to utilize something besides just getting high. And that was when I had found CBD And at the time, I was in the bodybuilding space, and I noticed that it really helped me sleep. It really helped me recover. So I decided that this would be my mission, was to rebrand cannabis and really make it something that health and fitness professionals could speak to and educate on, so that we could change the narrative around cannabis. Because most people are conditioned by either the DARE program or our parents' perception on cannabis, which has come from over 100 years. And that propaganda really started back with William Randolph Hearst, and where paper mills were becoming a thing. And so propaganda has been ingrained into so many of us and through several generations. And I wanted to be the one that actually changed that narrative. So, as we did start as what you could call a CBD company, we've expanded quite a bit from there and truly are starting to create functional formulations that are based on traditional Chinese medicine and are an alternative option for people. I found Dr. Andrew Weil not too far after I almost committed suicide and was very resistant to pharmaceuticals. And so it's been my mission since then, is like, what's an alternative option? How can we actually educate and rebrand a industry that's had a poor narrative around it for far too long? And if we only looked at CBD, we'd be missing out on the power of an incredible plant and all the other formulations that are coming into play with herbs and functional mushrooms. So that was something that did not exist. And while there are a lot of other companies seeing the potential in this space, I do believe we've laid the groundwork to really live in a lane of our own.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing your story and being vulnerable. I had goosebumps when you were sharing that. And I think it's really cool how you went from a dark place and really found your purpose. And to your point, you're right. There are a lot of misconceptions about CBD, THC. I think a lot of people are like, I just want to get high. So I think something that's interesting about your company, and I'm hoping you can explain more about the benefits of microdosing THC, because personally, I've never heard about that. And I just would love to learn more.
Yeah. So many people think when we say even CBD, some people instantly go, "Is that marijuana?" And it's important to know the difference between marijuana and hemp. All of our products, the extract comes from the hemp plant. So, just real quickly, like, the parent is cannabis, that's the genus. Below that, there's hemp and marijuana. The difference between the two is marijuana is cannabis with greater than 0.3% THC. Hemp is cannabis with less than 0.3% THC. So, our extracts coming from the hemp plant can have low concentration THC in them. And THC as well as CBD are just a couple cannabinoids out of actually over 100 in the cannabis plant, and they all have different functions and benefits. Now, THC is the intoxicating cannabinoid, so at higher concentrations, it is the high that people associate with marijuana. But at low concentrations, THC is really something that gives a lot of people relief. So CBD is more of anti-inflammatory like properties, whereas pain is something that people actually come to THC for. And THC in combination with CBD is much more efficacious than just CBD by itself. It's more of a holistic approach. Take all of the cannabinoids, utilize them together, and get more bang for your buck than just one cannabinoid. So THC, while it can be intoxicating at very low dosages, can be a great component of the overall relief that you get from cannabis that so many people are looking for and they don't actually get from CBD, because CBD is a more long-term anti-inflammatory, like, holistic support, whereas short-term relief would come from that microdose THC. And at low concentrations, I mean below like a milligram, you're actually not going to feel the high that's associated with high dose 5 milligram THC edible or even higher, which most people experience and say, oh, this made me way too anxious. I lost control. I didn't like this. I got the munchies, like, whatever it may be. That's not what it's about for us. It's actually about the relief that you can get from it at low concentrations.
Cured carries a lot of products. I've actually tried your Euphoria
Mm,
drink, which has been great for me. It's like really helped me focus. And I just found it like on accident at my local like grocery store, which is really cool. But I think at first glance on your website, there are so many options. And for someone who's never taken CBD or something like CBD or THC, where would someone start? And specifically for stress, because I think that's what a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with. So if someone's just like, hey, I'm kind of stressed out, I want to try something, which direction would you point them in?
Yeah. So a lot of times, if we're stressed out or our central nervous system is overstimulated and we're not actually recovering through sleep, that's actually the best place to start when it comes to stress. So I'll speak specifically about stress, but I'll also say first and foremost, if you're not sleeping, there's a very good chance that you could be in a high stress state at all times. So if you can actually get to sleep, you can have a complete night's sleep, deep and REM sleep, then your overall stress load is going to come down quite a bit. So you could come to us for any of our CBN products. That's more of a sedating cannabinoid. That would be for sleep. And then we also have Zen, which is again a functional mushroom adaptogen and cannabinoid supplement. So that's sleep. But if you just wanted to have support from an overall calming and stress relief perspective, we actually released a product last year that has that microdose THC that we're talking about. It's called our Serenity Gummies. We have L-theanine, microdose THC, reishi mushrooms, and ashwagandha. And those are great for stress relief at any time of the day. And you can take it and you're not actually going to feel, again, like that high that we're talking about. So you come to our site, and I would highly recommend, if you're a stressed out entrepreneur, try to get to sleep more and then see how your central nervous system is going to respond to that on a day-to-day basis. Check your mental clarity and your overall ability to show up. And then if your sleep's on point and you're still stressed out, you could do that like gummies or something like that any time of day. But it's also in combination with a bunch of those other ingredients that I mentioned, because I think that, as we mentioned earlier, CBD alone is not the answer.
Hey, it's RT. Thanks so much for listening to the Fast Foundations podcast. I want to see you in the room. I don't want you to just be hearing my and our voices. Let me tell you about the Fast Foundations Mastermind. It's a 6-month-long program, and it's our signature program. It's how you join our community. Every time we talk about this amazing community of almost 400 people that have gone through our mastermind, that we have here on the podcast, that we hear from, and our mentors, all that kind of stuff, all the guest speakers, the coaches, all the awesome things that we get to do, it all starts with the mastermind. It's a 6-month-long program with two-day in-person events. One's in Scottsdale, one's in Denver. Yes, they're in amazing, beautiful places. We have them in cool spots because that's fun. We also give you 6 months with a coach, one-on-one. And the most important thing is, once you go through that mastermind and you learn from all these amazing speakers that we bring in, learn from your coach, grow with me and Jim and the rest of our team, you get lifetime access to our community. Every single thing that we do is recorded and uploaded into a private platform off of Facebook, off of the social medias, all that kind of crap. And it's saved in one place that you have, again, lifetime access to. So when you join the Fast Foundations Mastermind, which you can learn more about at fastfoundations.com and click on Join the Community to apply. When you join this mastermind, you're in our community for life. I really hope to see you in the room, and I hope to talk to you soon. That's fascinating, Joe. And thanks for sharing that, the knowledge on all that stuff. This is all, like Tiffany said, kind of new information about specifically microdosing THC. I've tried a lot of these things, and microdosing is just really a hot topic right now in lots of different avenues. So like where we started the podcast, I've tried a lot of different CBDs, and I feel like I've had to take a lot of it. I'm a bigger guy. I mean, I'm 6'2", 220 pounds. So like I it was just getting really expensive to feel like I got enough. Can you speak to just like the correct or ideal doses of all these things? You mentioned CBD, CBN, microdose THC. Like
Mhm.
for an average size person, or maybe for a man versus a woman, how much do we have to take, and what should we budget if we want to really try to do this for a full month and give it a solid chance?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and it all starts with the fact that it's going to be different for every single person, and it's going to be different because of the fact that we're all further or closer away to getting to what we would call homeostasis. So like a even balanced place in your body, your sleep wake cycle, your mood, your appetite. So if you're extremely stressed out, if your metabolism, if your sleep wake cycle is off, you're going to have to take more versus somebody that probably has maybe other practices like meditation, working out. Like you come to Cured, and one of the things that we've led with since day one is here are all the other things that you should be doing in your life from an educational standpoint to take care of yourself. And we're a supplement company. So that means we're supplemental to a lifestyle of healthy habits and routines. So I just want to lead with that. But I would say that between like the 30 to 60 milligram range is where many people will notice that that's where they start to get the sleep benefits. And that's over the course of a day. You can take CBD at any time of day. It's just overall relaxing. You're not going to fall asleep in the middle of the day. Most people can't get to sleep because their mind's racing. And if you're an entrepreneur, if you're building the business at 12 p.m. in bed, just like all of us do as entrepreneurs, it's because your mind's racing, right? So a lot of times you'll need a dose before bed in that like 30 to 60 milligram range. But the nuance with that is if you're using low dose THC in combination, so you have a full spectrum extract, you would need to use less because they have a synergistic effect and they actually support each other. But if you were taking CBD alone without any THC, so THC free product, you're probably going to need a higher dose, maybe around 60 milligrams. And that's definitely where it would get expensive. As you mentioned, RT, CBN, the more sedating cannabinoid, which I like to explain it as think of the feeling of a weighted blanket. Like when you lay down and you put a weighted blanket over you and how your body feels, that's the effect of CBN in the body. It's more like a sedating type feel. And most products, like 5 to 10 milligrams of CBN, is efficacious. And then again, THC around the milligram range is a solid dose where you'll feel the effects of it, but you won't actually be high. So a milligram THC, 5 to 10 CBN, and then 30 to 60 CBD. Again, with the caveat that everybody's going to be different, and it also depends on what does your whole lifestyle look like.
Definitely. I find that fascinating. And I love the thought of a weighted blanket because I do have one of those and it's so calming and soothing.
Oh yeah.
So now I want to try CBN because I really have never tried that. At the beginning of this episode, you mentioned, entrepreneurship is more of a marathon. It's the long game and you really do have to take care of yourself. So I'm wondering, what are things that you've done to take care of yourself outside of probably taking supplements and things like that? What have you found that works for you that's made a big difference?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, after I struggled with depression in my suicidal attempt when I was 21, I got into the bodybuilding world and I actually competitive bodybuilt. I think that's maybe how you say it, for about 4 years. And through that journey, while I also recognized that where there were aspects of that industry that were unhealthy, just the discipline with going to the gym and getting the proper nutrition that got so ingrained in me during those years. So it starts with like, what are we putting into our body and how are we moving our body? So that's been ingrained heavily in me since day one of this whole journey. But I also have recognized that some of the most important things for me have been my relationship with the sun, with light, and being out in the sun. and taking a daily walk. So I take a walk every single morning with my dog. He's a Belgian Malinois. He needs to be walked and run like almost every day. So he kind of like forces me to get outside every day or he tears up the house. But getting outside and getting sunlight and moving your body in the morning really helps reset your natural circadian rhythm. And that also helps with us falling asleep at night and secreting melatonin naturally at the end of the day. So if you get sunlight at the beginning of the day, 12 hours later, you'll start to naturally secrete melatonin. You don't have to take exogenous melatonin. So that's huge for me. And then my relationship with temperature as well. I am somebody that I have a sauna and I have a cold plunge. And while that can get expensive, it's also something that many gyms have is a sauna. And just getting cold exposure is really good for a dopamine rush and you don't have to have caffeine. So I said a couple things there, but it's nutrition, moving my body, my relationship with sunlight, and then my relationship with temperature. I have played around with meditation and journaling and that stuff, but more so for me, it's like, how do I do something with my body that then changes my mental state and not the other way around? Like I can't think my way into a different state, more or less.
That makes sense. And it's like a massive learning journey as we all try and test all these things. And I've done similar things recently. I really hate the cold, so every time
Yeah.
somebody brings up like cold plunges are awesome and you should take a cold shower, I'm like, no, I really don't want to. On that note, you
We're gonna
know,
make that happen for you, RT.
I guess, yeah. I just really don't want to. I love the warm stuff, yeah, and the sunlight. I'm in, like I'm
Yeah.
in for sure. But
It
Yeah, but
sucks. It just
you know
sucks. Like,
what? Yeah, but Joe, I just want to say recently I did like do a cold plunge and I also was of the mindset like I can't do this. But then afterwards, like not only are you feeling all these chemicals going through your body, but I felt like I was like, fuck yeah, like I'm a badass and I want to do that
for
again
sure,
because I could prove to myself I can do something uncomfortable.
it's all the mental state. Like, I actually mentor other entrepreneurs and I'm like, "Hey, like, you need to have a difficult conversation, right? If you're going to have that difficult conversation later today, go get in the cold this morning and tell me how badass you actually are and the fact that you can get through something hard, then those like difficult conversations and those other things that you have to do that feel like death, because cold water feels like death, but you get out of it and you're like, oh, okay, actually I played that out to be a lot more difficult in my head than it actually was. And same is true with like hard conversations and hard things that you do as an entrepreneur. So I love that tool.
Yeah, I also think it like trains your breathing a little bit
Oh
because
yeah,
you have to breathe through it. And so then I think that carries on throughout the day because you're like, okay, hard situation. I just need to take a few deep breaths.
100%.
and the thing that I've integrated, it like I guess maybe in lieu of that, is just really hard and consistent workouts. And I've been training really hard, not for aesthetic purposes, but like I've found that, like you said, Joe, like that's the hardest thing that I do every day, like a really difficult leg workout or like a really intense, high intensity training. I literally say to my personal trainer, like, that was definitely the hardest thing I've done today. It might be the hardest thing I'll do all week. And I do some really difficult things as an entrepreneur running multiple businesses. So I think it's that concept of just like not only doing something difficult in the morning and priming your body, whether it's like you said, positive way, sunlight and things like that, or just do something really difficult, but also just the consistency over time. And that's what I was going to ask you about, Joe, is just, it sounds like you've tried a lot of things, you've done a lot of things. How long, in your opinion, do we have to use these, like, talk about your products for a second, like use these products for at least a month, at least 6 months? How long do we have to get sun exposure every day to really feel a difference? How many times do I have to do the cold plunge in a row before I just get over myself, right? Like, can you speak to just the longevity and the how do we stay consistent and what does consistency look like?
Yeah. I think it's long enough for you to where you don't have to put it on a checklist of something that you need to do every day.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like power lists. Like, okay, I'm going to do these things every single day. As soon as something becomes so ingrained in your life that you don't have to put it on a checklist to get it done, then that's how long it takes for you. So I think it's like, people talk about sales cycles like 30, 60, 90. And typically, when something's feeling off in your life, it's because you stopped doing something 90 days ago or you stopped doing something 60 days ago. So I say, as long as it takes to make it so it's an ingrained habit in you, so you don't even really have to think about it. When it comes to our supplements, I always compare it to like a diet. You don't start a diet and then the next week actually see that you lost 10 pounds. It's like you have to ingrain the habit and then you have to do it long enough to actually see the results, but then make it so it's ingrained and sustainable so you can continue it for the rest of your life. And, there are things out there that say, like, oh, it takes like 21 days to form a habit or 30 days. And I think if we just try to put a one size fits all answer on a lot of those things, a lot of people are going to do a disservice to themselves because they
Mhm.
create unrealistic expectations. And you guys know that with entrepreneurship is it's hard to not create unrealistic expectations without having somebody already have gone through a process of scaling a business to six figures or seven figures or eight figures or whatever it may be. You have to do the thing yourself to actually understand what it took for you. And then it's going to answer that question. I was in Austin last week. We're raising money. We're taking out our first outside investment round at Cured right now. And I recorded a podcast afterwards called The $500 Million Trip because all the people that I met with the founder of Path Water, met with the founder of Sun Life Organics, met with the founder of a bunch of other companies. And I like sat there and I was like, oh, everybody's the same. Like they all take care of their self physically, they all take care of their self mentally, and they all talk in long-term perspectives. They talk in like, where are we going to be in 5 years? What do you envision for the future? And I sat down to record that podcast, and I tried to add up everybody's net worth, and then I called it the $500 Million podcast.
That's
But
cool.
I share that because everything that you guys are talking about and asking about is a through line between every successful entrepreneur that I've met is like they've recognized how to physically take care of themselves, how to mentally take care of themselves. And then the way that they all talked was so similar. I was like, oh, like this is awesome because so many of us find ourselves lonely as we start to pursue like change in our lives. But you do it long enough, you actually start to meet people that tick the same way. And you'll notice that if you don't have those things under check, it's going to be very hard to actually be an entrepreneur because it's very stressful, very, very stressful and difficult journey.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. And it's, we've had a couple people on the podcast recently talk about, health, wellness, these kind of things. And a lot of the similar concepts keep coming up where it's just like, yeah, we sell this product or this supplement, like you're saying, that helps, but I love the way you said it. It's a supplement, you have to do the right things first. And I also, on the other note, like about just worth and how many of these people, I shared a meme last night that was something to the effect of like, there's 10 times more millionaires in the US than there are people with visible abs.
Mm,
And I was just like, and what they were talking about was just like, if you have both, or if you can get to one, like you're taking care of yourself. It shows discipline, it shows consistency. And I think, from when I was raising money, I bet if I walked into the room the way I do now and the way I look now, I would have had a lot better success because first of all, I was a kid, but I also was like not taking care of myself. I wasn't sleeping very much. I probably looked really tired. And, I mean, as you know, running a company and raising money is two separate jobs at the same time. So you're burning the candle on both ends. So it's like versus if you walk into a potential investor meeting or a potential client or, even something like this, and you clearly like take care of yourself and you slept well last night. I mean, you're just a different person. And it's like the odds of doing whatever you're trying to do are way, way, way better. So
100%.
I love it.
Because
I
at the
love this
end of the
conversation.
day, like you guys have probably heard this, and people listening to this podcast have probably heard this is like, investors invest in the idea, but they really invest in the founder. They
Yeah.
invest in the person. And
Hmm.
so exactly what you're saying is so true.
Yeah. Joe, we call these mentor sessions, and you've given us so much value today. I'm curious though, who do you see or who has been your mentors for, the last 5 years? Like, who do you look up to? What podcast do you listen to? Like, where have you learned all this great information that you have now?
Yeah, I love that question. I'm in a mentorship group. It's called Arate Syndicate with Andy Frisilla and Ed Milet.
Cool.
I absorb all of Ed Milet's content all the time, always, always, always. I'm
Yep.
obsessed with him. I think he's the best when it comes to speakers in our day and age right now. So that's been huge for me. I actually also have a men's group that I sit in every 3 weeks. I get together with a couple other men, and they're all, 15 to even 20 years older than me. So it's just like this idea of having an elder. There's somebody that's walked the path before you. They either have a family or they have a relationship or they have a child or they have something that like I would like to emulate more in my life. And that's been transformative for me. And I'm also part of the Consumer Health Summit. The guy that runs that was the advisor for Dave Asprey, the founder of
Yeah.
Bulletproof.
Awesome.
So investing in yourself is like, if you're not doing it, you are falling behind, and you have to invest in yourself because there's somebody that's done what you want to do, and why not pay them to ask questions to understand how they did it? Like it's like, oh, of course. But it's very hard. Like a lot of times it's a big investment, and it's important to understand that when you invest in somebody that's done what it is you want to do, there's no speculation. They're not like, maybe you should do this or kind of you should do this. They've done what it is you want to do. So just take their advice as truth and know that there's no speculation. There's no incentive in a mentor speculating about something. They like, this is how I do it. You should do this. And there's always a monetary exchange for that. It's really important.
I love it. Thank you, Joe. That was beautiful. And Tiffany just messaged me like, "That's the clip. That's it. Like that's it. That's like how we wrap it all up." I mean, just you're totally right.
Yeah.
It's just invest in yourself first. Put yourself first. Put your health first, because all of this stuff is going to come from it. So, if somebody wants to connect with you, buy your products, learn more about you. It sounds like you do mentoring too. That's awesome. Like, how do people connect with you and find more information on yourself?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I want to say that like you investing in yourself is saying yes to your future self. It's like,
Mm,
yes, I actually want to be that. You're showing yourself that that's true for you. So just like hold on to that if you're listening to this and you're thinking about investing in yourself. You can find me on social media. My full name is Joseph Sheehey, Sheehey. You can find our company Cured Nutrition on Instagram. We're shadow banned because we're marijuana related. I tracked the metrics the other day. Listen to this. I tracked the metrics the other day. We have 69,000 followers on Instagram. We've gained 12,500 in the last year, and our following's only gone up 500. So
huh.
it's like Instagram's just like scraping our followers or something like that. But
Yeah.
whatever.
Well,
So
Meta doesn't like CBD. That's
no,
Yeah.
just a fact.
anything marijuana related. Yeah. So
Yeah. That's tough.
curednutrition.com would be the best place to go.
Yep.
You can check out all of our supplements there. And we're going to go and create a coupon for you guys, the listeners. You could use FAST at checkout for 20% off.
Yep.
And RT and Tiffany, this is awesome. We need to stay connected because I love what you guys are doing.
For sure, Joe. Yep. I'm going to go use that coupon myself and then
So
connect with you. I'll start commenting on all your Instagram posts, see if we can break the algorithm.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much, Joe. This is super fun. If for those that are listening, thank you so much for continuing to listen. If you're new, hit that subscribe button right now on whatever platform you're on. If you're here on YouTube and you're watching us, thank you for doing that. Now you get to see our pretty faces and not just hear our awesome voices. If you're just hearing our voices, maybe check out YouTube next time. It's cool. It's a good spot. Anyway, that's it for Fast Foundations podcast. It was another mentor session. We'll see you next time.